Hello everybody, welcome to the JavaScript course. In this video, I'm going to discuss arrays for JavaScript. First, I would like to introduce the way to create an array. And I would like to show the way to index an array. And by this technique, we can also create some kind of array of arrays. That means we have one array in another array. And I would like to tell you this way of simple handling of array entries. And I would also like to loop over an array. I would also like to describe the toString method of arrays. And finally, I would like to show you the way to delete the array elements pretty quickly. Now, let us see the HTML file first. The HTML file is rather simple. I have a title and a heading. And this HTML file is linked to a JavaScript file called myscript.js. And this JavaScript file is stored in the JS folder. Now, let me go back to the JavaScript file. In order for me to use the strict mode, I have to say use strict on the first line of the JavaScript file. And then I can set up an array. The approach is like this. If I want to set up an empty array, I can just let it as follows. Now you'll see that I have a variable called myArray, and the assignment is like this. I put a pair of square brackets with nothing inside the brackets. In this case, I'm able to set up a certain empty array. That means this array has nothing to be stored, and this array is called myArray. If I want to set up some arrays that are already filled with something, I can demonstrate it to you now. Now, this is the way to set up some pre-filled arrays. So I have some elements, car, bus, van, and bicycle. And each of the elements is separated by a comma. Okay. Now, the pair of square brackets is filled with these four elements. Okay. And then we have to notice that for JavaScript, the array is 0 indexed. That means the first element is having an index of 0. So let me demonstrate it to you. Now, if I want to indicate the first element in my index, I have to use index 0. So let me see the result. Save. Reload. Yes, you can see index 0 refers to the first element, which is a car here. Okay. And how about the situation if I set up an index that is beyond the maximum allowed index of my array? I would have something interesting coming out. Suppose I want to say vehicles 4, but you can see that I have only index 0, index 1, index 2, and at most index 3. We cannot have a certain element with index 4. So in this case, I will have the result called undefined in JavaScript. Save. Reload. Yes, it is undefined because the maximum allowed index is already beyond my given value, shown here. And we can really change the elements even though we have already set up a certain array. So let us see an example. So suppose I want to change element with index 2 from van to motorcycle. So in this case, I just do the simple assignment of motorcycle to the array element with index number 2. And let me see, save, reload. Yes, you can see that the element has changed to another one. This is not allowed in string, but it is allowed in arrays in JavaScript, okay? One interesting thing about the arrays in JavaScript is that we can lengthen the array. What does it mean by this sentence? Now, suppose we have only 4 elements in my vehicles array. That means the length is only 4. But if I want to lengthen the array, I can do something like this. Now I assign a string called truck in vehicles with index 10. It means that I lengthen the array to have index 10. That means the vehicles array has 11 elements. Is it really so interesting? Yes, it is. The length of the array is determined by the index of the final element. Since the final element is having an index 10, it means that we have indices from 0, 1, 2 up to 10. It means that we have 11 elements, even though there are only 5 of them are filled. So let me see the result. In order to show the length, I just use the length property. And save. Reload. Yes, we have 11 elements, even though only 5 of them are filled. Is it convincing enough? I can just show all the elements in my given vehicles array to demonstrate this interesting fact. By showing all the elements, now I'm going to show all the elements in my vehicles array. Save. Reload. Yes, you can see that there are so many commas, which indicate that between the commas there should be some elements, but now the elements are empty. So altogether we have 11 elements, and you can see that many of these elements are unfilled. So we have a problem with this kind of operation of the arrays. Since the JavaScript uses contiguous memory for the elements, if I set up a new element called truck with a very pretty large index, it means that the memory of this part of the array isn't really utilized. In this situation, we can bear in mind that we should try to use the arrays with elements being joined together, so it is sensible to put truck in index 5 rather than index 10, so that you don't use up memory in this part of the unfilled elements of the array, so that the memory of the entire array can be reduced. Now I would like to discuss another thing about arrays in JavaScript. An array can really store different types of elements. What does it mean by that? We can have different data types in a certain array. We can combine numbers, we can combine Boolean variables, we can combine some strings, or we can even store functions in a certain array. Now I would like to show you an example. Okay, now you see that this new array is rather complex. Now I can show you the detail of the array more clearly. Now the first element is an integer called 5, and the second element of this my new array is an object. And we see that the third element of this my new array is actually another array. So you can see a pair of square brackets indicating the content of a certain array. So the third element is an array, and the content of this third element is having 2 elements. The first element is a string, and the second element of this inner array is a function. So you see that in JavaScript, an array can store virtually any kind of objects. Okay. So if I want to specify a certain portion of this my new array, how can I do that? Let me show you an example. If I want to show this content called true, we have to indicate the position correctly. So it is inside the second element of the my new array, so that's why I've used index 1. And then in index 1, we have 2 elements. I want to specify the second element, so I say it's retired, And if I use this syntax, I'm able to get true as the answer. So I go to the second element of my new array, and then I pick up the object content correctly. So I want to show the is retired property, and I would like to see the content of this property. Save. Reload. Yes, I can see true in the alert window. So is it possible to locate an element from the array of arrays? Yes, it is allowed. Since I know that this is actually a certain new array in the original array, I can do something like this. I say my new array index 2, which refers to this element, and it is an array, so I go to index 1. So it means that I would refer to this function. Okay, so let me see the result. I should get something relating to that function. Save. Reload. Yes, you can see the function content completely, which is actually the second element of the inner array with index 1. Now we go to talk about some simple handling of arrays. Before doing so, I set up my new array first. So I have a certain array called animals. In this animals array, I have 3 elements: bird, insect, and mammal. And if I want to add something new at the end of the array, I can do something like this. Now I want to add 2 more elements at the end of the animals array. So I use the push method. I want to push 2 more elements. One is called reptile and another one is called worm. Now if I want to remove something from the beginning of the array, what can I do? I can use the shift keyword. I use the shift keyword to do the removal from the start. Now let me see the result by using the alert window. So what will happen? Save. Reload. Yes, you can see we have 4 elements. We have already added 2 more elements to the end of the array, and I also removed the first element from the array. That's why I can't see the word bird in the animals arrays. Okay. So if I want to add something at the start of the array, how can I do it? Let me show you my approach. The idea is to use the keyword called unshift. Okay. So when I use unshift, I add a certain element at the beginning of the array. Now let me show the alert window, and then I save the file and reload the file. Yes, you can see that I have fish coming out in the first element. This happens because I used the unshift keyword to add a new element at the beginning of my array. Now let us see another example to do the removal and addition at the end of the array. So suppose I have another array called occupation. Now we have 3 elements. If I want to remove a certain element from the end, I can use the pop method. So when I use the pop method, what will happen? Save. Reload. Yes, you can see that the last element is removed. So now we have only 2 elements remaining. And how about adding some new element at the end of the array? I can do something like this. Now I add 2 more elements at the end of the array. So you expect that when I use the alert window, I'm able to see 4 elements. Because the nurse one is removed, I would have a teacher, cleaner, shopkeeper, and engineer in order. Save. Reload. Yes, the content is shown in this particular order. So I'm able to add something at the end of the array by using the push keyword. Now I would like to show you the method to loop over an array. One approach is to use the for loop. So I do the counting of the elements by using the index. So I make a variable called I, and then I loop over all the elements in the array by using that index, and the index has to be less than the length of your particular array, so that I'm able to see the result by using the alert window. Save. Reload. Yes. This is the result coming from the previous alert window. Now you see that the teacher comes first, the second one is cleaner, the third one is shopkeeper, and the final one is engineer. In this case, we can see that the content is shown in order one by one. Rather than using the for loop, there is a certain array method that can help us show all the contents of the array one by one. I can use the for each method. So this is the alert keyword. So in this case, I'm able to show up each of the elements by using the alert window. So save. Reload. Yes, the first one is teacher. The second one is cleaner. The third one is shopkeeper. And the final one is engineer. So we can use this approach for each alert to show the content of the array one by one by using the alert window. And we have to remember that an array can have a method called toString. What does it mean by this toString method? Let me demonstrate it with a certain example. Suppose I have a certain array called numbers, and we have 3 numbers in the array. Okay, so I can use the approach called string numbers. So I use the string keyword, and the following array is put in the string command. And what will happen? Let me see. Save. Reload. Yes, you can see that I can just put all the elements in an array to a string. So by using the string keyword, all these elements are combined to a certain string. And the next one is called concatenating strings. How can I do it? Let me show you my way. If I want to do the concatenation, I can put the array into the string command, and then I add something following this command. Save. Reload. Yes, you can see the concatenation is done. You see this is the part to add after the content of the given array. So you see that we don't have a comma automatically when we do the concatenation. So that's why you see 202, 203 are joined together. That is because this is a particular new string to be added to the original string, whose content is separated by the strings. Okay? Finally, I would like to show you a way to delete the array elements pretty quickly. We just use .length equals 0. This is something interesting in JavaScript. The idea is that the length property is writable. In this case, we can just change the length of a certain array to be 0 in order to remove everything from it pretty quickly. Now I want to say that the array length of this particular variable called numbers is 0. What will happen if I just do the alert window, save, reload? Yes, you'll see nothing inside the numbers array. So by changing the length to 0, I can eliminate all the elements previously stored in the array pretty quickly and effectively. So this video has already talked about so many things about arrays. We know the way to set up an array. We know the way to fill in elements in the array. We know that the elements in the array are 0 indexed. We can change the array elements. We can lengthen the array pretty easily at the cost of the memory issue shown here. Okay. We can also store different types of elements in the array, and we have introduced the way to indicate an array of arrays. We also did some kind of handling of arrays by doing the pushing, shifting, unshifting, popping, and pushing. We know the way to loop over the elements of an array by using the for loop or by using the for each method. We also know the way to convert the elements into a string. We know the way to concatenate something to the strings coming from an array. Finally, we know the way to delete the array elements pretty quickly by setting up its length to 0. This is the end of the video. If you have any questions about my video, please leave your questions on the comment section below the video. If you like this video, please give me a like and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.